Hello children, welcome to your English literature class. Children, today we will start with lesson 3, Matilda, the reader of books. At first, I will not tell you what is the story all about. First, we will read the lesson. So, I will read the lesson for you. You will hear to the pronunciation and go through the books. Mr. and Mrs. Wormwood had a daughter called Matilda. By the age of 1.5, Matilda's speech was perfect and she knew as many words as most grown-ups. By the time she was 3, Matilda had taught herself to read by studying newspapers and magazines that lay around the house. At the age of 4, she naturally began wanting books. The only book in the house was one called Easy Cooking. She read this from cover to cover and learnt all the recipes by heart. Then she decided she wanted something more interesting. So, one fine afternoon, she went to the public library in the village. "Where are the children's books, please?" asked Matilda. "They are over there on those lower shelves," Mrs. Phelps told her. From then on, every afternoon, Matilda would toddle down to the library. She would sit quietly by herself in a cozy corner, reading one book after another. When she had read every single children's book in the place, she started wandering round in search of something else. "Can I help you, Matilda?" asked Mrs. Phelps. "I'm wondering what to read next," Matilda said. "I finished all the children's books." Mrs. Phelps looked down at Matilda from her great height and Matilda looked right back up at her. "Exactly how old are you, Matilda?" she asked. 4 years and 3 months, Matilda said. Mrs. Phelps was very surprised indeed. "What sort of a book would you like to read next?" she asked. Matilda said, "I would like a really good one that grown-ups read, a famous one." Mrs. Phelps looked along the shelves. "Try this," she said at last. "It's very famous and very good." Great Expectations, Matilda read by Charles Dickens. "I'd love to try it." Within a week, Matilda had finished all the 411 pages of Great Expectations. "I loved it," she said to Mrs. Phelps. "Could you choose another one for me?" With Mrs. Phelps' help, Matilda read lots and lots of famous books. "Some writers say a lot of things I don't understand," Matilda said to Mrs. Phelps. "A good writer will always make you feel that," Mrs. Phelps said. "Don't worry about the bits you can't understand. Sit back and allow the words to wash around you like music." "Did you know," said Mrs. Phelps, "that libraries allow you to borrow books and take them home?" "I didn't know that," said Matilda. From then on, Matilda would visit the library once a week in order to take out new books and return the old ones. Her own small bedroom now became her reading room. Through the stories she read, Matilda travelled all over the world while sitting in her little room in a village. Extract taken from Matilda. Children, we have read the story Matilda by Roald Dahl. Now, this writer is a British writer and a poet. He was a pilot. he said that if you have good thoughts, they will shine out of your face like sunbeams and you will always look lovely. So if you have good thoughts, how can you have good thoughts? You can only have good thoughts and good thinking skill by reading and exploring. So the more you read, the more you explore and the more you think. So those who like to read books as your hobby, it's very good, and those who don't like, please try to read and try to shine. Children, we have read the story and we have come across the characters Mr. and Mrs. Wormwood, Matilda and Mrs. Phelps. So Mr. and Mrs. Wormwood are the parents of the daughter named Matilda. And Mrs. Phelps we find here as the librarian who helps Matilda to read and explore. So here we see that Matilda is a very special child and she was perfect in her speech by the age of 1.5, and she knew a lot of words, as many words as grown-up used. And by the age of 3, Matilda learnt how to read by reading newspapers and magazines. And at the age of 4, she started wanting more and more books because the only book she had in her house was the easy cooking book. And she finished from cover to cover. That means from first to last, each and every page she completed reading because she was a book lover. She loved to read books. So when she finished the book Easy Cooking, she wanted more and more interesting books. So one fine afternoon, she went to the public library. So when she visited the library, she asked the librarian, Mrs. Phelps, that where are the children's books. The librarian helped her to find the books. So she finished reading all the children's books. And when she would visit the library, she would quietly find herself in a corner. In a cozy corner, she would fit herself. So cozy means, what is the meaning of cozy? Comfortable. She would sit in a very relaxed manner, comfortable manner, and she would read books one after the another. Then when she finished reading all the children's books, she started wandering around the library. Wandering means roaming around in search of books. Then she asked Mrs. Phelps that, what can I read next? Give me some more interesting books. Okay, so that time Mrs. Phelps asked, what is your age? Then she said, I am 4. By hearing this, the librarian, Mrs. Phelps, was very surprised. Then Matilda told that I want something of famous books that grown-ups read. That time Mrs. Phelps gave her a book. In fact, it is a novel, Great Expectation, which usually children learn in colleges and universities. But Matilda read at the age of 4. Great Expectation is written by Charles Dickens. The author Charles Dickens has written this novel. So she took the novel and she finished the novel within a week. The novel had 411 pages. After the completion of the novel Great Expectations, Matilda wanted more and more famous books. So Mrs. Phelps helped her to read lots and lots of books. But sometimes she couldn't understand certain words and their meanings. So Mrs. Phelps advised her, don't worry about the bits you don't understand. Just keep reading and exploring. Then Mrs. Phelps told that, do you know, you are allowed to take the books home. You can borrow the books from the library and you can take it home to read. Matilda replied, I didn't know that. Then from that time, Matilda would visit the library only once a week to take out new books and return the old ones. She made her small bedroom into a reading room, or you can say a mini library where she had lots of books. And by reading those books, she traveled all over the world, sitting in her little room in the village. Children, I hope you all have listened to the story and have enjoyed. But I would like to suggest you to read the other parts of Matilda, because you have just read the first part, The Reader of Books. There are other parts, and there is also a film on Matilda. So I would like to suggest you to watch the film, which was released in US by Sony Pictures. So I hope you will all watch and know the characters. There are much more or lots more characters in the film Matilda. So you watch and you let me know. So thank you. That's all for today.